Hi everyone, today I'll be showing you some of the techniques you can use to make steampunk style polymer clay artwork, including how to add color and distress clay. These are some of my favorite pieces to make because there's a lot of room for creativity and you don't have to worry about making things look perfect. I actually made a tutorial like this when I first started my channel, but this is an updated version. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is squish the clay nice and well so it's conditioned. That way it doesn't crack or break when you bake it. And then we're going to roll out the clay to however thick you want your piece to be. And after we roll it out, we'll be tracing our shape and cutting it out with a razor. Once you've cut out your shape, next thing you'll do is smooth out the shape with your fingers. The edges are going to be a bit rough from cutting it out with the razor, so just smooth with your fingers until it looks the way you like. Next, we'll be using our needle tool again, and we're going to trace out where we would like the opening to be on our moon. We're going to be making two different openings that we'll be cutting out soon. So you just trace it out first with that needle tool, and then we'll be going in with a different sculpting tool to scoop out the clay inside where you traced. Next, we're going to be using a tool with a ballpoint edge, and we're going to smooth in where we made our opening. I have two different sizes, one large and one small, and the smaller one I use after the larger one to make sure the edges are smooth as well. So next I'm going in with this metal stamping tool It makes this texture that looks like stamped metal, so it's nice for these projects. But if you don't have something like this, what you can do is take a small strip of foil and squish it up in your fingers till it's like a ball, and then squish that against the clay. That will make a nice rough texture, so you can use that instead for adding texture to the project. So once we have the openings all traced out and cut out, we can put in the metal pieces. These ones I got from Amazon as a set that included different metal pieces and gears, but there's other online stores that sell them too. And these are great because they're nice and tiny, and that's what you want for this kind of project. And I like to use my fingers to place them, as well as the small pliers and the needle tool. Another thing that you'll see me doing in the video is taking some of the metal pieces and putting them in lower, and then putting some of the metal pieces up higher. This creates some layers, which looks good as well. Now I'm going in with a brush tool and just lightly tapping it on the clay to make some little dots. Again, just adding some more texture. And like I said before, you can use foil to add texture as well. And now I'm going in with the eye pin and placing that at the top. That way we can make the piece into a necklace or a keychain. And afterwards we'll be baking it in the oven according to your clay package's instructions. Once it's all baked, we're going to be putting a metallic paint on top. We'll be doing a second project after this one where you'll see me use metallic pigments instead. But for this project we are using metal colored paint, and that you apply after the project has been baked. And you can do a couple layers to make sure that it's as opaque as you would like. Another thing to note is that it's good to use black clay when you're going to be working with metallic pigments or paint. This will help so that the colors show up better and more vibrant. You can also make pieces with silver or gold clay, but I find that using paint or pigment instead makes it look a bit more realistic. And that is the final project when it is done. That one I set in with UV resin once it was all finished. With UV resin, you just apply it with a paintbrush, and then you can put it outside on a sunny day for about 15 minutes or so, and repeat if you would like to add multiple coats. And it gives it that really shiny look. Of course, if you don't want it to look like that, you can just not use a glaze or gloss at all. You can also use a matte finishing spray like the one from Krylon. I have used that as well to set projects I would like to be matte, and that works well too. So for the second project, we're making a heart, and instead of tracing and cutting it out, you'll see in the video that I simply cut out a triangle at the top and then smooth it out into the shape with my fingers. So next we're going to be making kind of like a little window, and first I'm going to be tracing in an eye shape with the needle tool and then pressing over where I traced that eye with another clay tool. This one looks like a shovel, and again just going to press along where I put the eye shape. And you'll see I'm using that shovel tool to kind of scoop out the excess clay. Next, I'm taking that ballpoint tool again, and I'm going to press down anywhere that looks rough to make that little window look nice and smooth. Next, I'm going to be going in with the pigment. I do this before I bake it, so it sticks nice and well. And I'm using an eyeshadow palette for the metallic pigment. There are craft pigments you can use, but if this is what you have, you can use eyeshadow instead. This palette is one that I only use for polymer clay, so that's why I'm dipping directly into the powder. And I just use a simple eyeshadow applicator sponge. This applies the pigment really well, better than a brush, so that's what I recommend using for the pigment. And then I'm going in with another couple tools to add texture. Once again, it's time to add the little metal pieces and gears. Again, I'm going to be adding layers. Some of the pieces will go lower, some will go higher. And I'm using gold ones this time. The last piece used silver pieces. This one is going to be all gold. Once again, I'm going in with the metal stamping tool and just making some more texture. It's always good to add lots of texture with these pieces. It looks really well once you put the paint or the pigment on top. And I'm using that needle tool to make some lines. That adds some extra texture too. Next, I'm adding some translucent liquid clay to a spot where I want to add another metal piece. This is good to use as an adhesive. Once it's baked, it will harden and it dries clear. And last, I'm going in with pigment all around the heart, and I'm using just a regular eyeshadow applicator and just pressing it all over. last, I decided to go in one more time with those tools I used to add texture, since sometimes the pigment tends to settle in wherever there are any lines or cracks. And that is it for the sculpting part, so you are all ready to bake it. And if you'd like, you can set your project with a gloss or something similar. It is best to do this if you have applied a pigment or paint so that you can set it so it doesn't come off. You can use a matte finishing spray if you'd like your project to be matte, or you can use a gloss or resin of some type. What I'm using in this video is UV resin, which cures in UV light, so if it's sunny outside, you can simply apply the resin, put it outside for about 15 minutes or so to have it cure, but there's lots of different glosses and products that you can use instead. This is just what I've been using recently. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.